So I think I mentioned the previous episode, but I've been playing Borderlands 1 again through myself, as well as with my roommate. My roommate has not played through the game. He got about to level 20, I think, and then stopped. But he also mentioned that he had beaten bosses we haven't gotten to yet. So I think he doesn't remember how far he got into it, because that was a fair ways away. We're like another 10 or so hours away from that boss, and we're probably about, what, like 5 levels away from that boss, so yeah, he got a bit more into it than he thinks he did. But, so, to begin with my experiences with Borderlands 1, we have to go back in time. We have to go back in time to, I want to say, 2010, 2011, because I had heard about it before Borderlands 2 came out, and Borderlands 1 came out around 2009, I believe, which led to, so yeah, probably 2010, 2011, because I got it via used copy of the Game of the Year edition, or whatever they called it, from GameStop, back when GameStop was worthwhile, and also they didn't shut down the one store that we went to. I missed that place. We went to several midnight launches, including Skyrim. Skyrim's was the one that stood out the most. Fallout 5's midnight launch was also pretty great. I might do an entire episode just on midnight launches, because it's just such fun events. But yeah, back to Borderlands 1. So, my first time playing through it, I played as Mordecai, because I love using pistols and such. A dude with a cool bird, and a sniper rifle, and revolvers, very much my kind of things in a first-person shooter with, abilities that you get to use and all that. So I went with Mordecai. There were also the options of Lilith the Siren, Brick, the Brick, or Berserker. I think it says that he's Brick as himself, Mordecai is the hunter, Roland is the soldier, Lilith is the Siren, and just Brick as himself. And so I went with Mordecai. My other options probably would have been Lilith or Roland, but at the time I really liked, and I still do like, crit builds with revolvers. Speaking of, that's the thing, right? I want to keep these to about 15 minutes or so, but I could go off about Borderlands for over an hour. I genuinely love how the Borderlands series handles its crit system, in that you crit by hitting weak spots. And that's incredibly cool, because it plays into later games and how they interact with how crits work, like how Jacob's weapons will, when you crit, the bullet will bounce off the enemy and hit another enemy nearby, which is phenomenal. But for this game, for the first game, I played as Mordecai with my birdie, and it was just generally such a great game to play through. The only other real shooters that I was playing at the time were like the Call of Duty games. I would play those with my classmates and the like. I guess Fallout, technically a shooter, that you could play it in many different, Fallout 3. Let's see, what else? I don't think I really played anything else in terms of shooters. So I would need a good story, while Call of Duty was basically just, well, it's what my classmates are playing, so I'll play it so I can play games with them. Because otherwise, they just didn't really play games. Red Dead Redemption, I played a lot of the multiplayer in that, but none of my none of my classmates at the time were really into it. So with Mordecai, his special ability is that he sends out a bird that's kind of like a drone. And so Bloodwing will just fly around and hit things for you. That when you first start, I think it's just one enemy it hits, but a later thing lets you hit up to, like 6 times? Because it goes up to 5. And it lets you add +1 attack per, I believe. So yeah, 6 times. Which is pretty nice. Overall, pretty good character, pretty good build. I had no real... Well, let's see. The downsides of the game... So I guess I could talk about the initial release versus the enhanced edition, which adds some features from the later games back into it, which are great quality of life things. Like a mini map. I believe the radar / compass had alterations made to it, there were a bunch of just little quality of life things that the enhanced edition has added that are pretty fun as my roommate and I are playing through. Though it is not without its glitches. Like things keep falling through the floor when we try to toss them on the ground sometimes, and it's got desync issues, and also some of the visual settings made it so that he was lagging like crazy and couldn't even look at a big fire stack. I was lagging a bit too, but it might be because I'm host, so I have less issues. But in the initial playthrough of the game, even just the intro is just amazing. Ain't No Rest for the Wicked plays, and it's an iconic start. It got me into Cage the Elephant. I tried to get Ain't No Rest for the Wicked as the class song, class of 2013, but unfortunately, my classmates voted for some white trash song. I don't know if it was like, I don't think it was Toby Keith, but it was just a song about like getting drunk and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, one of our classmates already died from drunk driving. He stole a taxi, drove downhill 70 miles an hour. I think it was during winter too, so he just slid, hit a pole, and he basically Superman flew through the window, died on impact, thankfully. But yeah, he was like 17 when that happened, and that wasn't great. He was a twin, and I feel bad for his twin. But yeah, he dead as shit. Just the most dead classmate I had. I don't think I had any other classmates outright die before we graduated. We had a few dropouts. We had at least one pregnancy, I believe. But yeah, just the one kid dying. And let's see if he died. So yeah, he died around the same time that I got into Borderlands. So it all ties together. The death of a teenager, this teenager that got drunk, lived not a great life. I wished better for him, but he was kind of a shithead, and he probably would have ended up being more of a shithead as he grew up. And yeah, probably would have died some other way, like my other classmates, former classmates did. So probably my fondest memories with Borderlands 1, barring my time spent. So I beat the game, and when you beat the game, you can play through it again. It's like a new game plus. Everything's harder, and you beat it again. And there isn't a third playthrough like I believe the later games handle. Instead, it's the entire game world is just there. Everything's max level, and so you just go around killing shit. And so that's what I did. I would rip the Cage the Elephant CDs to the Xbox 360 and then put on an album, and I would just play for about an hour or whatever the length of that was, and I would just go through the arid Badlands and the surrounding areas and just kill bandits and skags. Those are my fondest memories, just spending hours after school just shooting them, building up my weapon proficiency, because that was a thing in that game. The later games got the badass ranks and the other such things. I really liked the weapon proficiencies. Those were pretty cool. And I would just go around farming all that until on Mordecai, I got everything up to the max thing, which was like 50, I believe, for the weapon proficiencies. Pretty good time, pretty fun time. Let's see, what else? Oh, yes, the main thing that stands out in my time with Borderlands 1 was that of playing it with one of my classmates. He was a grade below me. And on spring break, we would play through, and it was just a great time. Probably 4 to 6 hours a day. It was phenomenal, and it was just playing co-op. He would play as Roland. He was... Oh, I don't know if he's still like he was back then. Last I heard, he manages a... What's that shoe store? Foot Locker. I think he manages a Foot Locker in Detroit. I should put a manager of a Foot Locker in one of my Detroit settings. Have him sucked into another dimension. But anyway, he was good Catholic boy adjacent. He wasn't a major shithead, but like, he would smoke and stuff, and I don't know if he ever got into weed, but he wasn't as strict to it. Like, his parents wouldn't let him play anything that might promote a subversive lifestyle, is the best way I can put it. Gears of War, totally fine. GTA, no. So yeah. I think he got them. I want to say we played a little bit of Red Dead Redemption 1. I can't quite remember. But Borderlands 1 stood out. He played as Roland, kind of straight-laced, just a soldier, just going around shooting.
No, you don't.
He also... Oh man, it's been over a decade. My memories are not great. The thing that stood out, the memory that I have the most is the caverns early on with those crab things. I just did that with my roommate the other day. And the crab worm things, these like purple dudes, they're like lobsters and worms combined together. They burst out of the ground and they got a big glowing eye, and that's their weak point. And I would love to just farm that area because they're good XP. And yeah, he and I were going through that. I think it's just a side quest. I don't think a main quest takes you there. So you could it's just totally an optional area. It's pretty nice though. It's got a claptrap that needs help and gives you more storage space. And he and I were playing through it, and he had, the soldier has the turret, so he would pop that out, and he would create like a defensive line. And eventually, at a certain point, there's just a lot of spawns in that area. There's just a lot of enemies that will spawn in like nooks and crannies and come after you. Like I was playing through with my roommate, and he was like, "Are these more fucking dogs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's like more fucking. There's just a lot of skags here, man." And yeah, playing fetch with your bones. And he was like, "How are they over the class the friend from back in the day? They would overrun his turret." And he's like, "How do they get by it?" And I'm like, "Man, there's like 13 dogs that want you dead." So yeah, he had to learn to accept the fact that this game isn't very much one where you could just like stay in one spot and do all that. You gotta like move around and kill things. Borderlands 1 is in the top 10 games of mine, and the enhanced edition's pretty good. I love most of the changes, most of the fixes. Some of the details they skipped over, which, well, I mean, it's distributed by EA. I can't quite remember who distributes it, but 4K might be that's the publisher, I believe, and 4K does do some, Randy Pitchford? Is that his name? The greasy boy, the greasy man? He's not the moist man, he's the grease strippler. He has magic tricks. But yeah, that's 10 out of, well, I mean, maybe like 9 out of 10. But yeah, fantastic game. Let's see, what else is on the agenda for the topic today? Oh, yes. When I had heard about 2 coming out, my old man was planning on getting it for either my birthday or Christmas or something. He was getting it for me as a gift. And he had a newspaper route that he was doing at the time. And he went out to the midnight launch So, newspapers are supposed to, at least at the time, they were supposed to run before midnight so that by midnight, the drivers could get the papers and head out and do their deliveries so that the papers were out before 6 a.m. Because, I want to say it's 6 a.m. So, after 6 a.m., the paper's free. The person doesn't have to pay for it. So, it would give them a roughly 6-hour period in which they could go and deliver the papers. And also, that's a decent work schedule. He did have to drive like 45 minutes back and forth to get home, so that added time to it. If he had lived closer, it would have been a better job for him. He, as a middle-aged trans man in rural Michigan, there's not a whole lot of jobs available for him. Right. So a job in which he didn't have to interact with anybody, with the public, was pretty good for him. Everything just reminds me of memories of him. And so when it came time for the midnight launch, he went to go pick it up. And I can still remember what he said afterwards. He was talking about how one of the people in line was talking about how they're gonna, like, hack the game and mod it and go into people's worlds and mess with them when joining random co-op sessions. And even my old man understood that was, like, a shitty thing to do. Because he played Dark Souls. but he didn't like the random invasions. He got a little bit into Dark Souls 1. I don't think he ever beat it. I kept trying to explain there are ways to make it so that you can play offline, but he didn't like how complicated it would get. But yeah, those are my experiences with Borderlands 1. See you next time.